Hey everyone, welcome back
Hi.
to AI Insights. We have a special surprise today because we're both in the Netherlands.
Yay! Yeah, we're currently in Den Haag, so that's
Yeah,
really exciting. No longer in Ireland.
first time in forever with this podcast that we're actually in the
Yeah, I
same
know.
country.
Yeah, literally the first time, which was crazy because we've been doing it for like a year now,
Yeah,
nearly.
oh my God.
Yeah.
We've grown so much. We have now
We have,
like
yeah.
1,000 listeners, people from like more than
Yeah, so
40
many different
countries.
countries.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
many.
Yeah.
And it's really weird how it started and how it's sort of grown. So very
I
happy.
know.
Um,
Cross-continental.
but also this is gonna be our season finale episode
Mm,
where we're going to do a throwback on all the interviews that we've done the past year and also talk about what's going to happen to AI Insights in the upcoming year and also talk about season 3. So hold your horses, listen well. we're, we're going to start with a little throwback of the past year of what has happened.
Yeah. So kind of we wanted to like take this as a moment to, bring forward like the themes that we thought were like most important to discuss because obviously we've seen AI like as a concept like evolve so much in its applications throughout the
Mhm.
year. Like for example, we now have the phenomena of like AI psychosis with people, like really like their mental problems or whatever being like expanded through like use of AI systems and whatnot. And AI psychosis like wasn't even, like a widely known term this time
Sure.
last year. There's so many things that we have now that we didn't have this time last year. Vibe coding, obviously they've existed for a while, but to the extent to which they're present in society has
Yeah.
changed a lot. So we wanted to take the time to like discuss what's changed and like really try to have the conversations that matter, about like ethics and etc. And then on that subject, our first like substantive point was the human element of AI. And that kind of relates to like AI psychosis and everything.
Yeah.
So we had a really good conversation with Michael from USAII, and we discussed a lot of different things with him. And we both had policy backgrounds, so we kind of approached it from that perspective of like what should change, etc. I think we mentioned like education, like we discussed a lot about how like the workforce was changing too, because that's another thing, right? So the class of 2025 college graduates, they're now all looking for jobs, and it's like some of the worst employment like crises
Yeah.
because all
I
these
mean, since 2008 when the house market
yeah,
crashed.
yeah. Because all these entry level jobs are being replaced by AI. I can't really speak to the statistics in America, mainly because it's just not on my newsfeed because I'm in Europe. But
Right.
yeah, I mean, there's
McKinsey company
oh yeah,
actually,
McKinsey, that's what I was gonna say.
20%.
Yeah, 20%. Yeah. In London, so London, obviously huge industry, especially for, if you want to go into like consulting, finance, all those sorts of things. But kind of the entry points into those jobs are disappearing because it's all being replaced by AI. And then now we're kind of seeing like the other end of the spectrum where I've seen a lot of reports, especially recently, where people are like, oh, hire everyone back. Like AI can't do all marketing. We also saw this year the emergence of AI commercials and AI models, as opposed to like hiring a real model to put on a shirt. You just like AI generate an image. We also saw the emergence of, I remember I was on a train. I was going to I just finished this legal internship in Ireland, but I remember I was on the train in the morning. I was going to work, and I looked at the person next to me, like just like it like caught my eye. Like I saw like a phone turn on, like my like eye went to it, and it was an AI generated photo of himself, where like he looked better than he actually did. It was like a not that he looked better, but rather it was another version of himself that was like AI generated. So it was like him as like a like envisioned in like a different world or whatever. And it was his wallpaper. I was like, wow, AI generate, but like that wouldn't have existed last year. That's my point.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that's
Like,
also so interesting. Like, that is actually happening on a lot of dating apps that people are using AI to make like perfect pictures of themselves.
are you serious?
Yeah,
Wow.
like for me, like because I'm trained, like to see AI, I can see it, but I can imagine that people like see that picture and then they go on the date and they'd be like, "You don't look anything like your picture."
Wait, I'm gonna send this clip to my friend. One of my friends texted me, it was like 2 nights ago. She texted me like this paragraph, and I looked at it and I was like, that's AI. Like, I know to use AI. Did you know the South Park episode where like he doesn't want to reply to his girlfriend, so he has like ChatGPT text her? We're also entering the era of, this is something that's going to really, I think, a larger role next year. We're entering the era of like autonomous agents, where it's not even like, you don't even have to prompt ChatGPT to text somebody. You can just say like, keenly text this person. It does it autonomously without
It
your
turns the
input.
agent. You can have, if you have ChatGPT Pro, you can just press agent to do
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. Now, she actually went to ChatGPT and like constructed, she did it as like a joke, but I think she wanted to like see if I could catch it, and I caught it. That's the thing. Like, oh my gosh, no, but that never, like, nobody could have ever even conceived of that, like, say 5 years ago, like a robot writing the message. That another thing is like corporate language, right? So like the emails, like say like business agreements, like all those sorts of things, like even like communications through Teams, stuff like that. A lot of that is now like AI assisted. So like, we've always had it where you're writing an email and then Grammarly will like do like a suggested end or something like that. But now it's kind of like reaching a stage where like people will just have AI write the email, have AI write the text. So it's kind of like, yeah, I don't know. And now I've kind of gone off on a tangent, but as you can see, like,
but that's also a good hoop to the other interview that we had this past year, which was with Jen Luther, who works for Grammarly, and their law department.
Yeah, so works for Grammarly and kind of was on the responsible AI department. Amidst all these crazy changes, like, it's absolutely crucial that we have people in ethics and, like legal positions to set regulations, to set guidelines, you know what I mean? And it was really, incredible hearing from her. There's an emerging body of work now called XAI, which is kind of like, it's like a branch underneath responsible AI, and it's like explainable AI. So like AI, but you can like understand like how it reaches conclusions. And
also
that's
how the data is trained.
And how the data is trained. Yeah. And all these sorts of, mechanisms are crucial for having a safer world, or like safer AI usage, safer world, etc. Yeah. So it was really good speaking to her, and just like, yeah, that's another thing. Like I do like AI law kind of, or like I work in like data. I've worked in data privacy and like IPT, but those positions, and no, now they're kind of all getting geared towards like AI and like data breaches and all these sort of mechanisms, like all these different incidences, they didn't exist previously. So
no, but what you're also seeing is that people are also focusing now on the concept of human in the loop, which is not something that was done in the past with other technologies that came up. But here it's really focused like, okay, it's great that AI can make all these kind of make things more efficient, but it is good to keep like I want to say like a manager on it.
Yeah, completely.
Someone who can make sure that the AI makes the right decisions and does the right tasks. And make sure that if something does go wrong, the right people are put on it to fix the problem.
Yeah. I read
for the right agents.
Exactly. I read this research paper recently, and it was called Red Teaming AI Governance. AI governance is another thing that really, emerged or, became a lot more robust.
That's, by the way, a good thing to talk about. That's actually our second theme. Which is the AI governance, ethics, and data protection.
So I read this paper, and it was basically saying, yeah, like we have all of these, different regulations, especially the EU AI Act came more holistically into force this year. For example, we had a deployment in February, I believe it was. We also, more recently, we had a deployment on GPAI and a few different things, GPAI, transparency, August 2nd. So there's all these different regulations and laws that are coming out, but, at the same time, mechanisms to circumvent them are increasing as well. So I read this research paper, and it was basically saying, human in the loop is going to be a very like fallible system, because a lot of the times the humans in the loop are nominal. So they don't, it's just like, it's for the sake of, like saying that you're safe when you're not actually safe, because the humans don't understand what's going on. So like you'll have a person there clicking approve, but the person doesn't actually understand why they're like approving it, or it can't engage with the AI on like a certain level. And the research paper was saying that's becoming more and more frequent, and that it's so like important that people are learning about the topics, aware and educated to be able to engage on that level, to have like an informed understanding to be able.
True, but also it's important that people understand what they're working with. Yeah, I noticed that a lot. Like, for example, in the Dutch government, there's now actually a rule that everyone who works with an AI system actually has to be AI literate in it.
Yeah, AI literacy. That's another thing of the EU AI Act. So now there's all these like regulations coming into place about AI literacy. So if you're working somewhere, like you need to understand like what it means that you're using it. Exactly what you were saying. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's enforced throughout the EU.
Yeah. Yeah, but the one downside of, I do want to be a little bit critical of the EU
Yeah.
AI Act, that is that the fact that it only has one line that says everyone has to be AI literate. And you're like, okay, but what the hell does that mean?
Yeah. I mean, and that's AI governance, right? It's what the entire field is predicated on, almost like interpreting this act, because it's the largest international precedent for how AI should operate in society. A lot of like even other jurisdictions are kind of building regulations predicated off of it. For example, in Texas, they just released, in America, Texas, they just released this piece of legislation regulating AI within the state, but it was based off of the EU AI Act. It's called TRAIGA, TRAIGA, but it just goes to show like how important the interpretations of the EU AI Act are, because they will have that kind of international impact. It's also extraterrestrial. So what that means is if you're like, I don't know, Microsoft in the US, or I don't know, Apple, any sort of like FANG company you can think of, they're going to have to comply with the EU AI Act because they have business operations within the EU. They're also seeking to like, expand more into the EU markets. Yeah, but they have to comply with everything. It doesn't matter like if your headquarters is in Seattle, you still have to, if it's going to have any impact into Europe, which it obviously does because the internet is fluid. I mean, there's a lot more technical explanation of that, but I'll save it for now. You're gonna have to comply with those regulations.
Yeah, and also you're seeing it around the world right now is that all countries are setting up AI offices. So specialized centers that actually help making sure that the entire government is actually AI literate.
Yeah, and it's mandated
also
by the
giving
act.
advice.
Yeah, having like provisions of the government dedicated to AI, it's mandated. But that's the thing. Education isn't really all the way there yet. So, for example, like Utrecht University, their AI programs, they just opened up a new master's law in technology, but it's like the second or third year that the master's program has existed. AI is a bachelor in some universities, but like, is it fully updated to how fast the field is expanding? For example, does it include like, up-to-date explanation of agentic AI, etc. Like there's no, because the field is evolving so rapidly. A lot of like forms of education, like what we're doing right now, are like ways to learn that are comparable even to college courses, just because they have the updated information.
But also it's in a fun way as well, because like listening to a podcast. But this is also good comeback to when it comes to the interview I did with Larissa Montano, who's actually an advisor on the European Data Protection Board. Like you see these kind of things pop up as well now in the EU, where they give advice on like, how should you further interact with the laws when it comes to data protection as well. Because one thing I've seen on the rise since AI is that people have become more aware of what's happening with their data.
With their data.
I wanted to say, now Facebook and stuff and Instagram is not free.
It's not free.
You're paying with your data. Same with ChatGPT, Gemini, Google, you name it.
Not free. They're always coming out with updates as well. They're like, and by the way, we're going to take even more of your data. You just have to click OK, because it's like, I'm not going to give up Instagram.
Actually, look what happens if you press no. You can't use it anymore.
No, you have to pay. They introduced like paid Instagram. So
but I mean, just in general, if you press no, like you do not agree with their new data policy, then it just shuts off.
Oh my god!
They're like, sorry, you can't use it anymore until you press yes.
My god!
Okay.
Like Europe is such an important jurisdiction for advocating for the rights of people. There was this case. I think it was the ICC with Spain, or the European Commission in Spain, something to do with that. But it created the right to be forgotten, and the right to be forgotten, the right to have ownership over your data. It's
saying like, please erase my data.
It's something that all of us will have a role in fighting for. Another kind of cool example of that, we discussed this off camera prior, but so ChatGPT searches became publicly indexed, I believe the term is. But basically, if you're like talking to ChatGPT, even if it's about something personal, and you click enter, you're venting, you're like, this, that, the other, the third, and then you like share it to a friend, then that's on the web.
Yeah.
And it's traceable.
Yeah, but they did take it down, though.
Yeah, they did
have to make that correction. Otherwise, people are going to be in shock with this podcast.
They have taken it down since, but, it's also because there was such like a public outcry, because it went viral and everybody was like, oh my God, blah blah blah, I'm shocked, I can't believe this would happen. And that's why they were like, okay, let's like address this now. But who knows how long that was operative, probably from the origin of ChatGPT.
Yeah.
And who knows how many things have been leaked because of that. Like that's, and there's so many different and ChatGPT has so much money. So much money. So like if that can happen to them, imagine the other forms of AI that people are using, So
a really good thing to go to our next topic on this case, since
Yeah.
you're going to the dark side of AI.
Oh my God, whenever you said the dark side, I'm like, oh my gosh. Yeah, but the ramifications, go on.
The ramifications, yeah. I mean, we actually did like a deep dive on deepfake.
We did.
To talk about what are the consequences actually of the AI technology that's upcoming now when it comes to, like, for example, with banking, where people are getting, well, at least their face is being used to get access to their accounts.
Yeah. That was a really good episode, actually.
Yeah.
No, deep fakes and how like the law, like I'm pretty sure I mentioned how like the law isn't like advancing fast enough to deal with the threat, and just how popular it is. Like that guy on the train who had it's not a deep fake, but AI generated image of him as his wallpaper. It's everywhere. You know what I mean? For example, like in my job, in every job I've been in the past year, like in every like corporate environment or even conferences, people AI generate images instead of going to the web. People are like, why would you go to the web? You can have a personalized search. But there's definitely...
You can make a perfect face of yourself. Everything's symmetrical.
Yeah.
Since people prefer symmetrical to a human face, apparently.
I've actually been wanting to talk about this on the podcast for a while, that I think that AI will cause like kind of like I'll just like briefly say my thought, but that I think AI will cause like the beauty industry to shift more towards embracing differences, and that differences will become more profoundly the beauty standard because everything is algorithmic. I feel like saying that someone like looks algorithmic, like the Instagram models, how they all... Well, I don't want to generalize, but there was like a paper that came out about like people Photoshop themselves to be like a really specific way, or people want to look like this one specific way, but
specific jaw, specific nose, and you're like, I can never look like that. And I'm like, no one can look like that.
But because like all the models are going to be like AI generated, I feel like there's going to be some sort of like counterculture pushback against that, and then difference will be more celebrated. But that's an opinion. So we'll see how that actually goes, maybe throughout the next year. Maybe we'll do an episode on it. So stay tuned.
Yeah, to be honest, I do think that is going to happen, where you're going to see people, I don't want to say per se deformities.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I mean,
no, more real people. So people who look like us. So if you have like pimples and stuff, that shows up. So people know that you're real.
Yeah. So people know that you're real. Because that's the thing. I remember I said this in the episode. I talked about, I remember the first moment that I saw an AI generated image, and then I actually could not tell that it was AI generated. It was an advertisement for like skin or something. And then I was like, oh wow, she's gorgeous, blah, blah, blah. And then I went to like, the comments were like right there, and all the comments were like, oh, like another deep fake, what? And I was like, that's a what? What do you mean that's a deep fake?
Was it a deep fake model?
Yeah, it was a deep fake model, but
Lord.
I couldn't tell. And that's the thing. Like, I think beauty standards will kind of be severely shaped by, the introduction of AI generated people, the influx into everyday life, like when you're constantly shown like AI generated images, there has to be some sort of like residual fatigue, So, and Polaroid, so we can like put this up on screen, but Polaroid just did an advertisement campaign. This really like, it relates, to like the negative impacts of AI and kind of like counterculture push against it. But it was like, AI can't generate sand between your toes. AI can't generate, like, remember all those nights we spent on our phone? It was all these different taglines to kind of say, like, look at the direction that the world is headed. We should still, like, we should be thinking of, like, other things, or we should be pushing against this, etc. But it really resonated with a lot of people. AI can't generate sand between your toes. That resonated with me. Because it can't.
No, but also that feeling. I do see, at least in my circle, lots of people not per se getting off Instagram, but like posting less pictures and stuff. They're getting more into the real world, because they're like, I don't want to spend my life on a screen.
I don't want to spend my life on a screen.
Even though we're recording this on a screen, but that doesn't.
Yeah. If you're listening to the podcast, stay on the screen. But
now you can listen to it.
Oh, without seeing
Since
that,
we're a
yeah,
pod.
yeah. At least we're real people. At
No,
least it's, you know, like real
exactly. We're
voices.
not deep
I mean,
faked.
yeah, the future. Now people are gonna start. Maybe they are. But actually, somebody said this to me the other day. I was talking about the podcast, and the person I was talking to was like, "Oh, really? Like, and you do it with your own voice? Why don't you just AI generate it? Notebook LLM does that. I don't see
Yeah.
why you would spend your
Would sound
time."
perfect.
It's like, I don't see why you would spend your time like talking to the screen when you could just automate that process. And I was like, no, like I like talking to the screen. Like I wouldn't have been doing this for a year if I didn't like talking to the screen. I love talking.
And the
We love
idea,
talking to each other.
exactly,
Like,
the idea was also with this
yeah.
podcast, we bring the AI news to the people
Yeah, to the people.
in a Gen Z voice.
Yeah.
And
not an automated voice.
no, exactly. That's where the human loop comes back
Yeah.
into.
Oh my gosh. Recently, this is another thing. So I was at like a conference, and then people had to do these ad hoc speeches. And then I did not prepare my speech at all. Like I didn't even realize that people were preparing. So I didn't do anything. And then the event starts or whatever, and people start to present, and they're reading off these scripts, and all the scripts are AI created. So basically, I'm dead serious. I'm dead serious. So what at this conference, what people were doing is they were uploading their slides to because we had to do like brief, you know, like
Yeah.
summations of whatever. So they were uploading their slides to Gemini, having the Gemini, you know, kind of come up with whatever they were going to say, printing that off, and then reading it word for word, like from the paper. And I didn't realize I didn't get the memo. So I was like, oh God, what am I going to do? So I was like scribbling stuff on paper, and then I got up and spoke, and I spoke well and everything. But someone said to me, he was like, oh, you know, like, because my presentation was about AI. He was like, you know, I'm not convinced on this AI stuff because you know what, like everybody here was saying things from the heart, and I was like, no, they were saying it from Gemini. It was from Gemini. Mine was like, I guess from the heart. But yeah, it's crazy the extent to which AI permeates reality, you know?
No, exactly. It's so weird just to think about that fact. But also, what the coolest thing, okay, just to also make people have a little bit hope, is that there are technologies now coming out as well that we saw where you can detect deepfakes. For example, there's this company in the Netherlands, at least, which is called DuckDuckGoose.
Yeah, I've heard about them for a few years. Yeah, they're really cool.
And they build this kind of software, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Actually watched a demo once upon a time. Where so apparently they check like the warmth of your face. I think we even covered that in our deep dive episode.
Yeah, we did.
They check the warmth of your face to see if you're real or not.
Yeah.
So that helps people who are actually also doing like interviews for remote jobs to check if a person is real.
Yeah. So if anyone thinks that we're deep faked, check the warmth. There's some warmth there.
Yeah, but you do need a special software, otherwise it's not gonna work.
Yeah, well, duh, I guess. Yeah.
Or you need to tell people, pinch your cheeks. Even though for women it's not gonna work, because if we wear foundation and stuff, you won't see that there's
there's no
warmth under it. It's fake.
Well, our personalities are warm.
Blush.
Our personalities are warm. That's what I was saying. Yeah,
okay.
like
let's go with warmth of personality. So I really loved us covering now the dark side of AI, giving people a little bit of hope.
Yeah.
To how it's going in. But we have to move on to the last part of the podcast, because we're also going to talk about what's going to happen the rest of 2025 and 2026.
Yeah, predictions for 2026. I mean, yeah, so we spent so much of the episode so far basically saying, wow, this didn't exist a year ago. Now it does. Now it's time to think about, like, what does the future hold? A lot.
I mean, we talked about the evolution of AI regulation. I mean, based on the European AI Act, we saw it now actually in February going in.
Yeah, coming into force.
Yeah,
that was February. Well, I need to double check on that, but February and definitely August 2nd, the regulations on GPAI came in.
I want to say I know because of my work.
Oh, really? Yeah. Oh my gosh! See, we have both had February, August, because I did a lot of research into August. Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there's more deployments that are coming into force in 2026, and then also just like the codes of practice that kind of are meant to explain the EU AI Act more. Those were just released. Inevitably, we're going to get some sort of update to the codes of practice. You know, we're going to get more releases from different ministers and etc. that are going to set these international precedents. So predictions.
Yeah.
I also talked about how people are like red teaming AI governance, right? So how people are kind of circumnavigating requirements, like maybe not circumnavigating, but not fully adhering to requirements such as like the human in the loop clause. So do you see companies like FANG companies fully complying with the EU AI Act? What do you think is going to be like the biggest hurdle in compliance?
I think it's going to be the systems that have already been built.
Yeah,
Because what I
because
see,
having to backtrack them.
either backtrack or the fact that, for example, I think Meta is actually a good example
Yeah.
because they didn't sign the that they were going to enforce the EU AI
Oh,
Act in
yeah.
their systems because it's based on the American market, not per se on the European market,
Yeah.
and it's always been that Europe has gone along, but now we're like, hey,
Yeah,
we
yeah,
have
yeah.
new data protection laws and stuff like that.
Yeah.
If you want to use AI in your product, you're gonna have to sign this document and actually
Yeah.
edit your model.
Yeah.
But the problem is when you try to edit your model, it's hard because it's already been trained on certain data.
Yeah,
So
so that's another thing, right? Like AI as we know it today. So the first kind of data set was it's called like it was like the Toronto Books Corpus, something like that, but just there's all these different miscellaneous data sets, like so much inconceivable amounts of data. You know, we started with one data set and then we have moved to encompass so much. And it's kind of just like how do you go back and then remove data? It's
no,
difficult.
exactly. That's something we're gonna have to figure out now because
Yeah.
Google did sign it, for example.
Yeah. So
And they're actually saying, okay, we'll be compliant with
yeah.
the AI Act, so
Mhm.
it is possible. So
Yeah.
that excuse doesn't
Yeah,
fly.
yeah. Well, that's the thing with the EUI Act. EU AI Act, nothing flies. For example, with the August deployments, all these companies basically gathered together, were lobbying the European government, like, no, please, like, we need more time. Like, it's not fully explained. Like, there's no way for people to act on this in time. And there was a statement from a European commissioner basically saying, we don't care. We're not going to delay
Yeah,
anything. Like, it's going to go into force as we've stated. People are going to it'll be like a process, but people are going to have to comply.
exactly. So they would either look at previous versions that
Yeah,
were
yeah,
trained on data that you are allowed to use, or
yeah.
start from scratch.
Another
So
thing that we kind of saw this year that I think we potentially would see more of in the coming year is like instances of AI, like not necessarily going haywire, but like overriding initial instructions or, like these huge large scale systems experiencing different difficulties such as do you
mhm.
remember Grok?
Yeah, I
Grok,
do.
Elon's
Yeah,
AI, when or the Twitter/X's AI. I don't know how, like, what brand you want to put that under.
X.
When it X, yeah,
It's X
X,
now. Twitter's
X.
gone. It's
But yeah, when it went haywire and, it was saying all these different things, then the CEO resigned, all that sort of stuff. I think we could potentially see more of that in the future. That's sort of like,
mhm.
well, that wasn't even jailbreaking. Like, that was like the model itself. But, people are able to jailbreak AI and then get results. Recently, I participated in a hackathon where we were trying to jailbreak the AI, red team it, I think is the actual industry word, and try to get like different results out of it.
Mhm.
And we were able to successfully red team it to get like extract data, etc. Or like have it say something that it's like not meant to say. So these things are really possible and usually in contravention of the act. So, but it's hard when like these systems, especially, and this is another thing that we wanted to talk about, it's hard to regulate, especially when the systems are becoming autonomous. So
Yeah.
that's another like big
I think there was,
prediction.
yeah, I think it
Yeah.
was also with ChatGPT where the system started to overwrite the
Yeah.
turn off function.
Exactly, overriding turn-off functions. We've seen that as well. We discussed this on the podcast. We can draw the clip. Microsoft was creating an AI system, I'm pretty sure it was like Magentic or something, and it issued like this formal petition or formal request, and it was not supposed to do that. And they were like, oh, geez, okay, well, we need to like, keep this away from the production unit until we really understand what's going on here. Another aspect of that, just to reintroduce like the red teaming AI governance point one more
Mhm.
time, is that research and development is actually an exception under the EU AI Act. So there's not really many exceptions. Like the act
No,
is
true.
very like cut and dry. Like you have to comply, in line with what the minister was saying, like all gas, no brakes. Like you have to, you need to act in accordance with this. But research is a huge exception underneath the act. So I think we're going to see a lot of research. Definitely won't be like hampered by these different regulations. So I think we're going to see a lot of new research, particularly on agentic systems. And what do you think about AGI? We did an episode on AGI as well, and we had a lot of cool clips from
Yeah.
there too.
I wanted to say it might be far away, but with the advancements of the past year, I think it might be closer to like
Then we,
2040. And
yeah,
then because I used to think it would happen like maybe 2070 if we're
yeah,
lucky.
yeah,
But I'm thinking like 2040 might be the age
yeah.
where we bring AGI to life.
Yeah, I just hope that like the regulations, kind of are accelerating to the same rate.
I mean, we have enough dystopian futures. So what happens if we create a new life and we don't work with it?
So, yeah, I've been telling everyone in my life about this. I don't know if I told you or if I've mentioned it on the podcast. Tesla's been doing all these different promotions, and recently they did like a collaboration with this Instagram influencer where they were marketing their robot as like an AI,
Boyfriend.
yeah, as a boyfriend.
Robot boyfriend.
Yeah, robo boy. Some
Robo
tagline.
boy. Dear Lord.
Right?
I don't hope they use that name because that's gonna set up a lot of flags.
Yeah, I don't like that. But yeah, so it's crazy because you combine AGI with like that robot body, and what are you dealing with? Like, and is that going to be like popularized? Who knows? But we'll talk about it on the podcast 2026. Yeah,
definitely true. We should actually look into that for 2026.
Yeah, we'll look into leave comments of what, or even like DM us of like what you would want us to talk about.
We should just DM Elon Musk just in general. So like, hey,
oh gosh,
cover this kind of way.
Yeah, well,
but I think also what we should look at definitely in 2026 is the evolution of vibe coding. I think that's definitely going to, because they're already the first billionaire actually happened because of vibe coding. So
really?
this guy, I don't remember his name, but he sold his app and he made like $18 million or something on it.
Yeah, we'll definitely do an episode on vibe coding because it's not just like a shift in like technology, it's a shift in entrepreneurship and business in general. So, and it kind of is reshaping even like the job market. And that's another thing that we've talked about a lot this year because it's inescapable. Like there's no way you can ignore it. The fact that the job market is changing.
General Ford, or what's the name again? The one who makes the Ford cars.
Yeah.
He talked about
factories, like
he talked about at the beginning of the century. It was like, I don't need thinkers, I need workers. So that was also why the current school system was built on the fact that people would be working in factories after they graduate from middle school. But now you actually see a shift that people are getting the power to start their own companies.
Yeah,
because of AI. So the workforce is changing, and my prediction is going to be also that there's going to be a lot more millionaires.
Oh, jeez.
Or at least people who weren't able to create a company before because of AI, they can now actually make zero, I would say actually even zero employee startup.
Okay, so like
one person.
Yeah, like enhanced upwards mobility through this broader accessibility to business and entrepreneurship. I definitely get that. And I do think that the paradigms that we kind of operate under are really going to shift, especially with regard to the fact that like all these college graduates are struggling so much to get jobs. But yeah, we'll see in 2026.
No, exactly. I think those are our main predictions for 2026 of stuff that's coming, and that's also what we're going to be covering.
What's something like fun that you want to see? Like if you could like have anything invented to like finish off the episode.
I think so. I really love the idea of people having a universal income.
Wow, that's a big one.
Yeah, well, the thing is, the government have already been
popular.
in the Netherlands have already been doing experiments with a youth that have money trouble by giving them like I think €600 per month extra, free of cost, nothing no strings attached, to help them get out of that financial situation. And if you can have an AI actually create like a passive income for you to cover at least the minimum €600, I think a lot of people will be more free to do other stuff instead of like working 3 jobs to cover their debts.
Yeah, it's like that saying of like I want AI to like do my laundry so I can do art. I don't want AI doing art and I'm doing more like laundry or dishes or that sort of thing.
Exactly. So you could work a little bit less. I'm not saying don't work at all, but maybe like change from the 40-hour work week to maybe work 4 days instead of 5.
Yeah, so that's a good point. So that's on like the restructuring, the broader restructuring of society. And then I think my take on it would be I would love to see more innovation and sustainability in AI, especially because I kind of have the background or perspective rather of like living in Ireland and like the data centers there that consume so much water. I mean, obviously we're on an island, so it's not exactly a shortage of water, but just like kind of the intense like environmental degradation that's associated with AI. And I mean like there's intense environmental degradation associated with every single aspect of industrialization. So AI isn't exactly unique in that regard, but it definitely is a really urgent and pressing form of the sustainability crisis that we need to be addressing. And there's so much innovation that's occurring And I would just like to see it more focused on AI. And you're actually attending an event on that topic in September, right?
Yeah, I'm going to TechX.
Yeah.
That's here happening in Amsterdam, where you're going to see all these people.
It's like a hackathon for sustainability.
Oh, you mean the sustainability? That's actually another event that I'm going to, which I will tell more about when it's done.
Yeah. Okay.
Since we're still working out a few of the details, but so follow me
Yeah,
if you
but
want
just
to.
yeah. So subscribe.
Subscribe.
So subscribe.
Yeah. But by the way, we should also talk about season 3 because.
Oh yes.
By the way, surprise! There will be a season 3 of our podcast.
Yeah.
To half 2025, 2026, we're going to be interviewing new people,
Mm-hmm.
but we're also expanding from. So right now we're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon, and we're on LinkedIn. But we're actually moving to 3 channels now. So we're going to create a YouTube channel, and we're going to create an Instagram. Where you can follow us as well, where we're going to post more things about AI. Also, you have some personal news, which is you're studying for the bar exam.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm studying for the bar exam, or rather like the FE1s. So that's exciting. And then we're also available on Substack. So I have a Substack. So
Same
does
here.
she. Yeah. And
more articles are coming, by the way. But
yeah. And
we're going to, by the way, also we're gonna have our own website.
Oh yeah, website too. Yeah, we're doing a lot of things actually, but all of this will be linked. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. When this podcast comes out, we're going to make sure that all the links are going to be in it, so you can follow everything. And also, by the way, for any of our listeners, if you want to be a guest, you can then go to our website and fill in the form for guest application.
Yeah.
So then we can vet, okay, who do we think is a good speaker for on the podcast, who can bring value to our listeners? And then we're going to interview our people listening to our podcast as well.
Yeah.
Since we want to see also more like who's listening, because we're at 1,000 listeners now, everything combined. Which is really cool, by the way. I mean, for our first podcast.
That is cool. So thank you guys for tuning in.
Yes, thanks so much for tuning in. We look forward to season 3. And having you back here.
Yeah.
So, laters.
Bye.